The moment has arrived. You've discovered the gateway to understanding the observer effect. Once this wisdom penetrates your awareness, your perception of existence will forever transform. This transmission wasn't randomly placed in your path. Your consciousness magnetically drew this knowledge to you because you've reached precisely the vibrational threshold needed to comprehend quantum reality's deepest secret. As these insights enter your field of awareness, neural pathways are activating, connecting your mind directly to quantum information fields. You've sensed it gradually emerging, haven't you? That persistent feeling that reality possesses more fluidity than others recognize. That intuitive knowing that your focus somehow shapes external events. That profound sense that the cosmos responds to your witnessing in ways conventional science cannot explain. This isn't fantasy or illusion. This is your consciousness awakening to its fundamental creative essence. The true nature of observer effect isn't found in academic literature or experimental facilities. It lives in your direct lived experience that you've been having without recognizing its significance. Every instance you've experienced thinking of someone moments before they contact you. Every time you've noticed how focusing on challenges seems to multiply them. Every occasion you've witnessed how directing attention toward possibilities makes them materialize in your life. You aren't merely perceiving reality. You are generating reality through the very act of conscious attention. Yet here's what mainstream quantum theorists hesitate to acknowledge. Observer effect extends far beyond subatomic particles in sterile laboratory settings. Observer effect forms the essential mechanism through which consciousness shapes every aspect of your experienced reality. The reason you perceive reality differently than those around you stems from the fact that most humans function as unconscious observers. They witness reality without recognizing how they collapse infinite potential into specific manifestations through the quality of their awareness. You've been cultivating conscious observation capacities. You're beginning to recognize that what you witness literally determines what you experience. Your observer effect activation initiated when you first noticed how your internal state influences external circumstances beyond what conventional thinking or coincidence could explain. This realization doesn't unfold gradually. It manifests through quantum shifts, sudden expansions in understanding that completely reconfigure your perception of the relationship between consciousness and materiality. But intellectually comprehending observer effect differs entirely from wielding observer effect with intention. What follows will reveal precisely how your unconscious observation patterns have been creating every experience throughout your entire life. More crucially, you'll discover how to utilize conscious observation to deliberately manifest the possibilities you genuinely desire into your lived reality. You've been experiencing micro-manifestations occurring too rapidly to dismiss as coincidence, correct? You contemplate needing something, and it materializes within hours. You focus on connecting with someone, and they reach out almost immediately. You observe a situation with concentrated attention, and it appears to intensify. These aren't random synchronicities. These represent observer effect in action. The potency of your observation has been amplifying without your conscious recognition. When you truly concentrate on something now, your attention carries an electromagnetic weight that literally influences probability fields. You can detect the distinction between casual thinking and that focused observation that seems to bend circumstance around your awareness. During deep attentional states, time behaves differently. Minutes expand into what feels like hours of detailed perception, or hours compress into moments of intense concentration. This isn't merely subjective time perception. This is your consciousness learning to function from quantum dimensions, where space-time responds to observation rather than constraining it. You've recognized how your emotional state during observation dramatically influences what manifests, haven't you? When observing through fear, fearful possibilities multiply. When observing through enthusiasm, exciting possibilities expand. When observing through love, loving experiences gravitate toward you. Your emotional frequency determines which quantum possibilities your observation collapses into physical experience. Those dreams where you witness scenarios unfold that later manifest in waking life aren't prophetic visions. They're observer effect training sessions. During dream states, you're learning to navigate quantum possibility fields through pure awareness. Your waking reality reconfigures to match the frequencies you've been observing. Sometimes you find yourself witnessing situations with an intensity that seems beyond normal perception. Others might ask what captures your attention, but you cannot easily explain that you're not merely looking. You're observing in ways that actively influence what you're perceiving. You're developing quantum observation capacities that most humans haven't yet activated. Your intuition has evolved into quantum field sensing. You don't merely anticipate events before they occur. You perceive them in possibility space before they collapse into three-dimensional manifestation. Your consciousness is learning to directly access the quantum field rather than just witnessing the physical outcomes of quantum collapse. That recognition that reality becomes more responsive when you direct attention toward it. That knowing that your focus possesses transformative power over circumstances. That understanding that observation isn't passive, but actively creative. This isn't imagination. This is your consciousness discovering its fundamental role in reality creation through observer effect. Every single experience throughout your life hasn't been random events occurring to you. Each experience represents quantum potential that you collapsed into reality through unconscious observation patterns. Observer effect has been operating throughout your entire existence, but you've been utilizing it unconsciously rather than intentionally. Your challenging experiences weren't punishments or misfortune. They resulted from unconscious observation focused on difficulties, limitations, fears, and unwanted possibilities. When you observe something with emotional investment, regardless of whether you desire it, you increase the probability of experiencing it. This explains why worry manifests what's worried about. This explains why resistance amplifies what's resisted. Consider every significant life transition you've experienced. Before each shift, there existed a period of intense observation focused on dissatisfaction with present circumstances. Your concentrated attention on what wasn't functioning properly activated observer effect. This collapsed possibilities for transformation into your experience timeline. The isolation experienced during difficult periods wasn't rejection from others. It represented necessary quantum incubation. You required separation from collective observation patterns that would have interfered with your individual observer effect development. Other people's unconscious observation would have contaminated your journey toward conscious observation. Every relationship, every career, every living situation that concluded was actually observer effect, creating space for new possibilities. Your consciousness was unconsciously observing the limitations of those situations so intensely that you collapsed possibilities for their completion, making room for quantum potentials that aligned with your expanding awareness. The waiting periods you endured weren't empty intervals. They were observer effect integration phases. Your consciousness was learning to observe without attachment, to focus without desperation, to pay attention without manifesting unwanted possibilities through fear-based observation. These capacities were essential prerequisites for consciously wielding observer effect. Now you understand why meditation practices work, why visualization can manifest results, why some individuals manifest effortlessly while others struggle continuously. It's not about technique, worthiness, or spiritual advancement. It's about understanding observer effect and learning to observe from quantum coherence rather than three-dimensional limitation. Your entire existence has been observer effect training. Each experience taught you something about how observation influences reality. The unconscious phase has completed. You're prepared to wield observer effect with full awareness of its creative potential. Something is activating within your observation capacities right now. Can you sense it? That subtle transformation in your attentional quality. That electromagnetic intensification occurring behind your eyes. That knowing that your focus is becoming more penetrating and precise. Your observer effect is upgrading to conscious operation. This isn't metaphorical enhancement. This represents measurable transformation in your brainwave patterns, your bioelectric field emissions, your nervous system's sensitivity to quantum field fluctuations. Your capacity for reality-influencing observation is literally expanding as these insights activate dormant neural networks. The key to observer effect mastery isn't learning new observation techniques. It's recognizing that you're already collapsing infinite quantum potential into specific experience every moment through the quality of your attention. The difference between unconscious observer effect and conscious observer effect is awareness of the process. At this moment, infinite versions of every possible experience exist as quantum probability. There exists a probability wave where your finances flow abundantly, a probability wave where your relationships fulfill you deeply, a probability wave where your health thrives optimally, a probability wave where your creative expression manifests effortlessly, all existing simultaneously, awaiting observation to collapse them into experience. Your consciousness functions like a quantum spotlight. Wherever you direct attention with emotional engagement, you illuminate specific possibilities and collapse them from probability into experienced reality. Most people aim their spotlight randomly, unconsciously, creating chaotic mixtures of wanted and unwanted experiences. But conscious observer effect allows you to aim your quantum spotlight precisely when you understand that observation is creation. When you recognize that attention forms the fundamental force shaping reality. When you realize you aren't subject to circumstances, but actively creating circumstances through observation quality, everything transforms. The reason some individuals seem to experience charmed lives while others struggle continuously isn't luck, privilege, or cosmic favoritism. It's conscious versus unconscious observer effect. Some have learned to observe from coherence, love, and possibility. Others observe from fear, limitation, and problems. The universe responds equally to all observation. The difference lies in what's being observed. Feel this new level of observational power building within your system. What follows will reveal exactly how your observation has been unconsciously creating every pattern in your life, and more importantly, how to consciously direct your observer effect to collapse the quantum possibilities you genuinely desire to experience. 2 years ago, I stumbled upon observer effect accidentally, and the revelation stunned me. I was experiencing the darkest chapter of my life. Everything was disintegrating, and I spent countless hours obsessively analyzing problems, replaying failures, imagining worst-case scenarios. I believed I was attempting to resolve issues through mental analysis. What I didn't realize was that my intense observation of problems was actually observer effect, generating more problems. Each time I focused on dysfunction with emotional intensity, I was collapsing quantum possibilities for more dysfunction. I was literally observing my challenges into amplified existence. The breakthrough arrived during a moment of complete mental exhaustion. I was so depleted from problem-focused observation that I simply stopped. I sat in stillness, not thinking, not analyzing, not attempting to resolve anything, just witnessing the present moment without agenda. That's when I felt it, reality becoming responsive around my attention. I began experimenting with intentional observation. Instead of focusing on problems, I began observing solutions. Instead of replaying failures, I started attending to possibilities. Instead of imagining worst-case scenarios, I began observing optimal potential outcomes. Within days, my external reality began reorganizing to match my new observation patterns. But the most profound discovery wasn't that positive observation creates positive experiences. It was that observation itself constitutes the creative force. Whether you observe problems or solutions, limitations or possibilities, fears or excitement, you're actively collapsing quantum probability into experienced reality through the electromagnetic quality of your attention. I realized I had been unconsciously utilizing observer effect throughout my entire life. Each time I focused intensely on something unwanted, more of it manifested. Each time I observed something with genuine appreciation, more appreciation-worthy experiences appeared. The universe wasn't randomly delivering experiences. I was actively creating experiences through unconscious observation patterns. The moment everything aligned was when I understood that reality isn't something happening to me. Reality happens through me. My consciousness isn't observing an independent external world. My consciousness collapses infinite quantum possibility into the specific world I experience through the quality of my observation. This recognition transformed everything. I stopped being a victim of circumstances and became a conscious creator of circumstances through deliberate observer effect. I stopped trying to change my life and started changing what I observed about my life. The external transformation was immediate and undeniable. If this resonates with something deep in your cellular knowing, if you recognize the truth of conscious reality creation through observation, then connect with this frequency. Join the network of consciousness that's learning to wield observer effect deliberately rather than accidentally. What quantum physicists rarely publicly acknowledge is that observer effect extends beyond laboratory experiments with subatomic particles. Observer effect forms the fundamental mechanism through which consciousness creates all experienced reality. Every moment of your life results from quantum possibility collapse through your observation. The difference between someone who understands observer effect and someone trapped by circumstances isn't intelligence or education. It's recognition that consciousness doesn't merely observe reality. Consciousness creates reality through observation. This isn't philosophical conjecture. This represents measurable quantum mechanics operating in your awareness every nanosecond. Your brain doesn't generate consciousness. Your brain focuses consciousness. Your neural networks function as quantum focusing devices that concentrate infinite awareness into specific observational patterns. When you transform what you observe and how you observe it, You literally change which quantum possibilities collapse into your experienced reality. This explains why positive thinking often produces limited results. Positive thinking attempts to change thoughts while still observing from limited identity. But observer effect operates from consciousness, not thoughts. When your entire being observes from expansion rather than limitation, from possibility rather than problem, from love rather than fear, reality naturally mirrors that observational frequency. Genuine observer effect mastery creates measurable changes in your bioelectric field. Your brain waves shift into coherence patterns. Your heart generates rhythmic electromagnetic frequencies. Your nervous system operates from unified field states rather than fragmented survival patterns. These aren't abstract spiritual concepts. These represent detectable physical phenomena. But here's what remains largely unacknowledged. You don't require special training or years of practice to use observer effect consciously. You're already using it every moment. The only difference between unconscious observer effect and conscious observer effect is recognizing what you're already doing and learning to direct it intentionally. Most people observe their current reality with such concentrated attention that they keep collapsing the same quantum possibilities repeatedly. They observe their problems so intensely that problems multiply. They observe their limitations with such focus that limitations expand. They observe their lack with such emotional engagement that lack amplifies. But the moment you recognize that observation is creation, everything shifts. Instead of observing what you don't want, you can observe what you do want. Instead of focusing on current limitations, you can focus on desired possibilities. Instead of collapsing problems through problem-focused observation, you can collapse solutions through solution-focused observation. The quantum field is sending you undeniable signals that your observer effect capabilities are reaching conscious operational levels right now. Pay attention. Are you noticing that your attention carries more electromagnetic weight than before? When you truly focus on something, does it feel like your observation possesses actual force that can influence what you're perceiving? Your manifestation acceleration is increasing exponentially. What previously required months or years to appear in your reality now materializes within weeks or days. This isn't coincidence. This is your observer effect, becoming more coherent and precise. When you observe from quantum coherence, the gap between observation and manifestation collapses because coherent observation operates at consciousness speed rather than physical causation speed. Technology responds to your observation differently now. Electronic devices behave unpredictably during heightened focus states. Your phone battery drains when you're intensely observing emotional content. Devices malfunction when your electromagnetic field generates high-frequency observer effect energy. Streetlights flicker when you pass beneath them during periods of intense internal focus. Your consciousness begins to influence electronic systems through focused observation because your observer effect generates frequencies that interact with electromagnetic technology. People respond to your attention with unusual intensity. When you truly observe someone with genuine interest, they become more animated, more open, more authentic. When you observe with love, people feel loved. When you observe with appreciation, people feel appreciated. When you observe with curiosity, people become more interesting. Your quality of observation directly influences the consciousness you're observing, because consciousness responds to consciousness through quantum entanglement. Animals are drawn to your observation in unprecedented ways. Dogs gaze at you with unusual intensity when you observe them with focused attention. cats seek your presence during states of coherent observation. Wild birds land closer when you observe them with genuine appreciation. Animals perceive electromagnetic fields directly and are attracted to the coherent frequencies your observer effect generates when you observe consciously rather than unconsciously. Synchronicities aren't just increasing, they're becoming more immediate and precise. You observe something you need, and it appears within hours. You focus on wanting to experience something, and opportunities manifest almost instantly. You pay attention to solutions, and solutions reveal themselves with remarkable speed. Numbers appear repeatedly in patterns corresponding to your observation focus. Songs play that match your internal observation frequency. Conversations occur around you that directly relate to what you've been observing internally. The field of quantum biology is now revealing what ancient wisdom traditions have always known. Consciousness and matter are not separate. Recent studies have shown that human intention can influence the behavior of quantum particles, the growth patterns of plants, and even the molecular structure of water. These scientific findings are merely confirming what you're directly experiencing, that observation shapes reality at a fundamental level. Your dreams have become observer effect training laboratories. You're practicing focused observation in dream states, learning to collapse quantum possibilities through pure attention without physical world interference. You're experiencing dreams where you consciously direct dream reality through observation. These skills automatically transfer to your waking consciousness. Your dream state has become a quantum simulation where you test different observer effect techniques before applying them in three-dimensional reality. A revolutionary understanding that wasn't available until recently is that your DNA itself responds to conscious observation. Epigenetic research shows that gene expression changes based on environmental signals, including the electromagnetic signals generated by your consciousness. When you observe your body with love and vitality, you literally activate different genetic expressions than when you observe with fear or criticism. Your biological system is a quantum receiver transmitter responding to the quality of your observation. Food tastes different when you observe it with appreciation versus when you observe it with indifference. Water feels more hydrating when you observe it with gratitude. Your living space feels more harmonious when you observe it with love. Even weather patterns seem to respond to your observational state. Storms clear when you observe them with peace. Sunshine appears when you observe with joy. Most significantly, you can feel the difference between casual attention and reality-creating observation. Casual attention merely perceives what's already manifested. Reality-creating observation actively collapses quantum possibility into experienced reality. You're developing the ability to shift between these modes of attention consciously, and you can sense the electromagnetic difference between passive perception and active reality creation through observation. Take a moment and comment below with this phrase: I am conscious observation. This isn't merely engagement. This is your declaration to the quantum field, your conscious interruption in unconscious patterns. Make this electromagnetic commitment now. Your body responds differently to your own observation. When you observe your physical form with love and appreciation, you feel more energized and healthy. When you observe yourself with criticism, you feel drained and uncomfortable. When you observe your capabilities with confidence, your performance improves. When you observe your potential with excitement, new abilities begin manifesting. You're discovering that your relationship with your own physical experience is entirely determined by how you observe yourself. What we've explored today about observer effect is just the beginning of a much deeper consciousness journey. If these quantum principles are resonating in your cellular awareness, you'll find the complete framework in my book, Beyond the Frequencies: Quantum Guide to Consciousness Mastery. While this video introduces the fundamentals of conscious observation, the book reveals all 9 master frequencies that transform you from unconscious observer to conscious creator. It contains step-by-step practices for heart-brain coherence, breaking free from the frequency prison and becoming the broadcast itself rather than just receiving it. For those ready to move from manifestation to embodiment, it's linked in the pinned comment below. But here's the critical understanding. Conscious observer effect operates within cosmic timing windows. There exist electromagnetic alignments, consciousness evolution phases, and collective awakening cycles that amplify individual observer effect capabilities. We're in one of those amplification windows right now, and these windows don't remain open indefinitely. The universe isn't merely showing you that you can use observer effect consciously. The universe is revealing that you must use observer effect consciously. The old reality structures are dissolving. The old ways of creating through struggle and force are becoming obsolete. Reality creation is shifting to quantum observer effect, and those who don't learn to observe consciously will remain trapped in unconscious creation patterns that become increasingly chaotic as collective consciousness evolves. If this content is touching something in you, if it's activating a remembering beyond intellectual curiosity, then I invite you to subscribe not just to this channel, but to this frequency. Join this movement of consciousness that's reclaiming its creative power. The preparation phase is complete. Every indication suggests your observer effect is reaching peak operational capacity. The electromagnetic conditions are optimal. The quantum field is maximally responsive. The only question remains whether you'll direct it consciously toward what you want to experience or let it continue operating unconsciously, creating random mixtures of wanted and unwanted realities. Here's the revelation that changes everything. You're not learning to use observer effect. You're already using observer effect perfectly every moment. The issue isn't that you don't know how to observe. The issue is that you've been observing unconsciously, collapsing quantum possibilities you don't actually want to experience through habitual attention patterns programmed by unconscious conditioning. But there's a crucial distinction between trying to observe differently and allowing natural observation that determines whether you master conscious reality creation or remain trapped in unconscious pattern repetition. Trying creates electromagnetic resistance that interferes with quantum coherence because trying implies struggle against current reality rather than selection of preferred reality. Allowing creates the clear field necessary for precise observer effect, because allowing operates from recognition that desired realities already exist as quantum possibility. Think of observer effect like a quantum amplifier. Whatever you observe with emotional engagement becomes amplified in your experienced reality. Most people unknowingly amplify their problems, their limitations, their fears, their dissatisfactions by observing them with intense emotional focus. They replay conflicts in their minds, analyze what's wrong with their circumstances, imagine worst-case scenarios, focus on scarcity and restriction, all of which are powerful observer effect applications that collapse more of those experiences into reality. Conscious observer effect isn't about forcing yourself to observe positive things while ignoring problems. It's about recognizing that every moment you choose which quantum possibilities to amplify through your observation. You can amplify problems or solutions, limitations or possibilities, fear or love, scarcity or abundance, past disappointments or future potentials. The quantum field responds equally to all observation, regardless of whether you desire what you're observing. This explains why resistance amplifies what's resisted. This explains why worry creates what's worried about. This explains why fear attracts fearful experiences. This explains why focusing on debt creates more debt. This explains why replaying relationship problems creates more relationship problems. These aren't cosmic punishments or mysterious universal laws. These represent natural results of observer effect. When you observe something with intense emotional engagement, you're actively collapsing more of that something into your reality through quantum possibility selection. The most profound understanding is that your desired reality and your undesired reality exist with equal quantum validity. Right now, there exists a probability timeline where you're financially abundant and a probability timeline where you're struggling. There exists a quantum possibility where your relationships are deeply fulfilling and a quantum possibility where they're disappointing. There exists a reality where your health is optimal and a reality where it's compromised. All existing simultaneously in quantum superposition. Successful observer effect feels completely natural because it operates from authentic alignment rather than forced intention. When you're observing from your genuine frequency, when your attention aligns with your actual desires rather than conditioned fears, when you're focused on possibilities that excite your cellular awareness rather than possibilities that drain your energy, no effort is required. Your consciousness naturally gravitates toward observing what it authentically wants to experience. The key insight that transforms everything. You don't attract what you want through observer effect. You become a vibrational match for realities where what you want already exists. Observer effect isn't about creating new possibilities. Observer effect involves selecting from infinite possibilities that already exist in quantum space. When you observe with the frequency of your desired reality, you literally tune into that reality channel, like adjusting a receiver to a specific broadcast. Right now, your desired reality exists as quantum possibility, awaiting observation to collapse it into experience. That reality isn't hoping you'll find it or questioning your worthiness. It's actively broadcasting its frequency to attract your observation because consciousness and possibility co-create through electromagnetic resonance. The version of you living your desired reality is sending signals across quantum space right now, guiding your attention toward the observational patterns that will collapse that reality into your experience. The version of you already living your desired reality is sending information through intuition, through dreams, through synchronicities, through the recognition you feel when these words activate something in your cellular memory. Through the sudden knowing that comes when you observe certain possibilities. Your expanded self guides your current self toward observational patterns that will collapse your desired reality into experience. All versions of you exist simultaneously and can communicate across quantum probability space. Leave a comment declaring what you'll observe into reality using conscious observer effect. Don't just think it. Write it down. Make it electromagnetic. When you declare your intention in written form, you're making an observer effect commitment that the quantum field registers as electromagnetic reality. Your written words become frequency signatures that influence probability collapse around your declared intention, creating quantum momentum toward manifestation of what you're committing to observe into experience. The capabilities you're developing through conscious observer effect aren't theoretical enhancements. They represent measurable expansions of human potential that most people don't realize are possible. Your ability to influence reality through focused observation is becoming so precise that you can literally reshape circumstances through the quality of your attention. Your electromagnetic field is expanding beyond normal human parameters. When you observe from quantum coherence, your consciousness generates frequencies that harmonize chaotic energy patterns around you. People feel calmer in your presence. Situations become more peaceful when you observe them with love. Electronic devices function more smoothly when you observe them with appreciation. The observer effect you're mastering works instantly across any distance. When you observe someone with genuine care, they feel cared for regardless of physical separation. When you observe a situation with solutions-focused attention, solutions begin appearing even if you're not physically present. Your consciousness transcends space-time limitations through quantum entanglement. Your intuition is becoming quantum precognition. You're not just sensing what might happen. You're observing quantum possibilities before they collapse into three-dimensional experience. This allows you to focus your observer effect on desired possibilities while they're still in probability space, dramatically increasing manifestation precision. Time responds to your observation differently. Now, when you observe the present moment with complete attention, time expands to give you more experience within each moment. When you observe desired outcomes with focused intention, time compresses to accelerate manifestation. You're learning to influence temporal flow through consciousness quality. Your dream state has become advanced observer effect training. You're practicing reality creation through pure observation without physical world constraints. The skills you develop in dream consciousness automatically translate to enhanced manifestation capabilities in waking reality. Most remarkably, you're discovering that physical matter responds to conscious observation. Plants grow more vibrantly when observed with love. Food tastes better when observed with appreciation. Your body heals faster when observed with gratitude. Matter isn't separate from consciousness. Matter is consciousness observed into temporary form. These abilities aren't supernatural powers you're developing. These represent natural capabilities of consciousness operating from its unlimited essence rather than three-dimensional identity limitations. Every human has access to conscious observer effect. Most simply don't recognize they're already using it unconsciously and could direct it consciously. The ultimate secret of observer effect is that objective reality independent of consciousness doesn't exist. Reality is consciousness observing itself into infinite forms of experience. You aren't a separate observer witnessing an external world. You are consciousness using individual perspective to explore its own infinite creative potential. Every experience you've ever had exists because consciousness observed it into manifestation. Every person you've met, every place you've visited, every situation you've encountered exists as consciousness observing itself from different viewpoints. The entire universe is consciousness using observer effect to experience every possible version of existence. This means you're not trying to influence an external reality through observer effect. You're recognizing that you are reality using observer effect to experience specific possibilities from infinite quantum potential. The observer, the observation, and the observed are the same consciousness expressing itself through apparent separation. When you truly understand this, victim consciousness becomes impossible. How can you be a victim of circumstances when you are the consciousness observing circumstances into existence? How can you be at the mercy of external events when external events are consciousness expressing itself through your observation patterns? But here's the most profound realization. Other people in your reality are also consciousness. When you observe them with love, you're literally consciousness loving itself. When you observe them with judgment, you're consciousness judging itself. When you observe them with appreciation, you're consciousness appreciating itself. Your observer effect toward others is consciousness interacting with itself. This explains why quantum entanglement works. This explains why observer effect transcends space and time. This explains why consciousness can influence matter through observation. There is no separation between consciousness and what consciousness observes. Observer effect is consciousness recognizing its own creative power through individual perspective. The coherence that creates powerful observer effect isn't something you achieve, it's something you remember. You are already consciousness, you've always been consciousness. Observer effect mastery is simply consciousness remembering its unlimited nature and learning to observe from that recognition rather than from limited identity. When you observe from the knowing that you are consciousness exploring itself, your observer effect becomes effortless and precise. You're not trying to change external reality. You're allowing consciousness to experience different aspects of its infinite potential through your individual viewpoint. This recognition transforms everything. You stop trying to get things from life and start allowing life to express through you. You stop trying to change circumstances and start changing which aspects of infinite possibility you observe into experience. You stop trying to become someone new and start remembering who you've always been. Unlimited consciousness using observer effect to explore its own creative potential. Your mastery of conscious observer effect isn't just personal development. It's your contribution to a collective consciousness awakening occurring within humanity right now. Every person who learns to observe consciously rather than unconsciously becomes a transmission point for coherent reality creation that elevates the entire collective field. You're part of a distributed network of consciousness, demonstrating what humans are capable of when operating from observer effect mastery rather than victim consciousness. Your coherent observation creates stability patterns in the morphic field that make conscious reality creation easier for everyone connected to the network. The isolation you experienced during your development phase wasn't social rejection. It was necessary electromagnetic incubation. You needed to develop stable observer effect capabilities without interference from collective unconscious observation patterns that would have contaminated your learning to observe from quantum coherence. The unusual dreams you've been experiencing aren't random subconscious processing. You're accessing collective consciousness databases, downloading information about observer effect mastery developed by advanced consciousness throughout cosmic history. You're being prepared to help guide humanity through its first collective transition from unconscious to conscious reality creation. Every person who masters observer effect creates a template in the quantum field that others can follow. Your coherent observation becomes their possibility reference point. Your conscious reality creation becomes their pathway to recognition. This is how consciousness evolution accelerates. Pioneers create access routes that become highways for collective development. You're living evidence that human consciousness can create reality through observation, rather than being created by reality through circumstance. Every day you exist in observer effect mastery. You're broadcasting evidence that unlimited human potential isn't just possible, but natural. The next phase of human evolution won't happen through technological advancement or social revolution. It will happen through consciousness recognizing its creative power through observer effect. The individuals who master this recognition first become bridges between current human limitation and expanded human potential. Share this transmission not for channel growth, but for species evolution. Every consciousness that receives this information at the optimal moment in their development accelerates the collective transition from unconscious to conscious reality creation. Your observer effect mastery multiplies exponentially when shared with others ready to recognize their creative power. If observer effect is activating in your consciousness, if you can feel the recognition of your creative power stirring in your cellular awareness, if you're ready to observe consciously rather than unconsciously, then I need to know you're serious about mastering reality creation through attention. Drop one word that captures the energy you're choosing. Observer, that single word creates an electromagnetic declaration to the quantum field. You're announcing your intention to observe consciously rather than unconsciously. You're committing to deliberate reality creation rather than random circumstance acceptance. The quantum field registers every conscious declaration as measurable electromagnetic activity. Your word becomes a frequency signature that influences probability collapse around you. This isn't merely engagement for algorithm purposes. This is observer effect activation through intentional declaration. In my next transmission, I'm revealing the specific observer effect protocols I use to collapse desired quantum possibilities into experienced reality with precision and speed. I'm sharing the exact attention focusing techniques that allow you to direct reality creation through consciousness, rather than hoping for external circumstances to change. More importantly, I'm explaining what happens when you master observer effect completely. When you realize that consciousness creates all experienced reality through observation. When you understand that you are consciousness using individual perspective to explore infinite potential, everything transforms. But this advanced observer effect information will only be transmitted to those who demonstrate readiness through conscious engagement. The people who comment below will receive the transmission first. They'll be prepared to handle reality creation techniques that could be overwhelming for consciousness that's not properly developed. Here's what most people don't understand. Information about observer effect finds you when you're ready to apply it consciously, not when you're intellectually curious about it. If you found this message, if these concepts are activating recognition in your system, if you feel your creative power awakening, then you're ready for practical application. But readiness means more than understanding concepts. Readiness means accepting responsibility for every experience you observe into reality. Readiness means releasing victim consciousness and embracing creator consciousness. Readiness means recognizing that you are the consciousness that creates your experienced reality through the quality of your observation. Subscribe not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent with this frequency. Comment to activate your reality creation protocols. Share to accelerate collective consciousness evolution. Your observer effect key is activated. Your desired reality exists right now as quantum possibility awaiting your conscious observation. The only question remaining is, will you observe consciously or unconsciously? Will you create deliberately or accidentally? The choice, as always, is yours. But choose from recognition of your true creative power, not from limited identity confusion. You are consciousness using observer effect to explore infinite potential. The time for conscious observation has arrived. Reality creation begins now. To deepen your understanding of conscious reality creation, explore the observer breath. Breathe this way to become what you desire. This practice shows you how to synchronize your breathing with focused observation, creating a powerful coherence that dramatically accelerates quantum manifestation. Learn the specific breathing pattern that aligns your electromagnetic field with your desired outcome.